Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to talk about how I made over 30 offers at asking price unseen in Southern California. Let's jump into the video. So back in late of 2020 and early 2021, I was looking to buy a house pat property in Southern California. I just relocated from Northern California to Southern California. So I wanted to continue what I was doing back then, which was buying a primary residence with 10% down and basically house hacking it where I would live in the master bedroom and then rent out the other bedrooms. So because of that, I usually look at houses with at least four bedrooms and maybe, two baths or at least one and a half bath. But specifically, when I was making these offers sight unseen in Southern California, I actually filtered out on Redfin and Zillow to make sure I had a big lot, right? So when I look at these properties, you can actually do Google Earth and then kind of get an aerial view of what the backyard looks like. And why I was looking at a big lot because I wanted to build an accessory dwelling unit or an ADU in the backyard. So there's a new law that was approved in California, I think back in 2020. It's effective until 2025 as of right now. But in order to kind of improve the housing situation due to the shortage of housing, they now allow people with single family homes to add a detached ADU to their backyard. Depending on your county, the max could be 1,000 square foot. That was the case in Orange County. Was 1,000 square foot. So that's what I was trying to target. I wanted to maximize the backyard unit with 1,000 square feet. You can probably get a three-bedroom, two bath, or at least a three-bedroom, one and a half bath, or a really large two-bedroom, two bath detached unit. And my goal was this was the way to go because buying a duplex, triplex, fourplex, it's just so competitive, right? Due to house hacking, where you live in one unit and then you rent out the other unit, it's the ultimate house hack because you still maintain your privacy. Versus if you live in the master bedroom and rent out the other bedrooms, you don't have as much privacy. So I was at the time in my life where I want a little more privacy, still want to house hack. So I just said, you know what? I want to maybe live in the master bedroom, um, rent out the other bedrooms temporarily as I'm building this detached ADU in the backyard. Once again, I was going for, three bedroom or two bedroom. And my goal was to eventually move into that back ADU unit, which is brand new, and then rent out that front house completely to a tenant. So they had their privacy and then I had my privacy. And that was my plan. So I only made offers on houses with big lots. I only made offers on houses that had at least four bedrooms in the main house. And I think with that law in California, there was an option that if I was owner occupying the property, I can actually convert the garage into a junior ADU unit. So you can convert the garage to like a studio, have the main house, which is a four bedroom, two bath, and then have a detached ADU that's a two or three bedroom. So you almost have a triplex or three units in a sense, right? So that's ultimate house hacking. You can rent the garage out for, let's just say, 1,800 bucks. They have their own separate utilities. The main house, you could probably rent it out for 3,500. The only thing is they don't get access to the garage. And then in the back ADU, I could live in the back ADU, and that would save me rent because for a one bedroom or even like a two bedroom apartment in Orange County, it's probably like 2,500 bucks. So I just can live back there and kind of reduce my cost of living while maintaining privacy, right? So we would just share the backyard space. There's a lot of parking in that cul-de-sac. So that was kind of my goal. Like I really wanted to do that um, at that time. And what's kind of crazy was at that time as well, back in late 2020, early 2021, that is when interest rates were at all time lows, right? This is when you're getting interest rates at under 3%. So, kind of fast forwarding it, I was basically quoted about a 2.75% interest rate, which I thought was crazy. Like, before I was getting around 4%, but when the government dropped the interest rates during COVID, it was just crazy that I was getting interest rates under 3%. So, due to this low interest rate, combined with low inventory in the market, people were overpaying for properties, right? It was highly competitive at the time. So that's why I was making offers sight unseen because like it just became a numbers game to me. I knew the asking price was probably undervalued. There probably wasn't going to be a bidding war, to be honest. So I just said, you know what? Doesn't take that long to write an offer. Whatever it's listed on Zillow, Redfin, let's just offer that price. Submit the offer, and then let the agent know that I'm going to go view the property, right? Because I'm working full time. um, I want to be efficient, and I want to show that I'm serious, right? So I basically made an offer asking price. If they want 800,000, I'd make an offer 800,000. Typical loan terms, all that standard stuff in terms of the contract, and then I would go see the property. So to me, it became a numbers game, a volume game. I just really identified markets that I wanted to be in, and for me, it was just a market that was around $800,000 in Orange County, right? So there's multiple, cities within Orange County. As long as I can hit that 800K range, I was happy, right? So you're talking about there's some properties in like Anaheim, Santa Ana, Orange, Lake Forest, Mission Viejo, kind of those areas. It was around 800,000 at the time, and I just would filter it by at least 4 bedrooms and ideally big lots, and then I just would start going down the list. I was looking for stuff that for the most part was pretty turnkey, didn't need as much renovation or touch up, and then basically would go in and rent out that main, live in the main house, rent out house hack it, and then slowly build an ADU in the backyard, and then maybe convert the garage to a junior ADU. So that was my whole plan, right? So let me show you how crazy it was with low interest rates. So imagine you have a 6% interest rate loan versus a 3% interest rate loan. Let me show you how significant this is. So let's just say you have a $1 million loan, which is very common in California, at 6% interest. That's going to be $6,000 a month in payments, right? That's not including property tax, insurance. That's just the mortgage. At the same $1 million loan at 3% interest rate, which is half, your monthly payment is $4,200 a month. That's a difference in $1,800 a month for your mortgage between a 3% interest rate versus a 6% interest rate, right? This spread is significant when your loan size is bigger, and that's definitely applicable to California or any high cost of living market, right? Like if let's just say the loan amount was 100K, yeah, not gonna be much of a difference between 6% versus 3%, but at $1 million, there's an $1,800 difference. So let's just say you can afford as a couple or a family $6,000 a month. Well, at 3% interest, um, you can get a loan up to $1.4 million, and it'll be the same monthly payment of $6,000 a month. So what does that mean? That means that people can overpay buy properties by $400,000, and because interest rates at 3%, you can still qualify with the lender at a higher purchase price. That's significant, right? That's $400,000 more in purchase price for that same 6,000 monthly payment at 3% interest rate. That's what's powerful about this tool, and that's why people are overpaying, right? So that's why I knew that, like, okay, the property is listed 800,000, but realistically, it isn't be like a huge bidding war, right? And it may end up closer to $1 million. So as I mentioned before, I literally would just see it on Redfin, send it over to my realtor, and then I just would say, hey, make an offer asking price, and then she would just sign it over to me. I'd sign it, and then we'd submit it, right? It just became a numbers game. So at the time, I think my realtor never worked with a real estate investor before, but she was like, wow, this guy is just really aggressive, submitting offers about, sight unseen, and such a high number of offers. She, wasn't used to working with investors. Honestly, I just kind of used her because she was the most available and willing to show me properties. Usually I have a family member who serves as my realtor, and they usually help me out and help cover my closing costs. But since I didn't have any connections or family in Orange County, I just said, well, I just need a realtor just to literally, show me these units and write offers for me, right? Like at the time, nowadays when I make offers, I prefer to go off market and do it myself. But at the time, I just bought all my deals on market. I got my first, second house hacks on Redfin, Zillow. So I just want to continue that same model, right? So she thought I was crazy and just like, wow, this guy's aggressive. And, I was very persistent and really wanted to make offers work, right? Like I was literally sending her deals to make offers. Like she didn't really give me any deals. It was just me aggressively looking at it because I knew that if I made enough offers, I eventually I'd get something, right? And I'm not too picky as long as it's in a nice area in my price range and like 4 bedrooms where I can like kind of house hack it. I was happy. So, um, kind of fast forward all that. After submitting at least 30 offers, I finally had one offer accepted on a property at asking price. This property is located in Lake Forest, so that's between Irvine and Mission Viejo, which are very nice areas. So, if you look at the path of progress, it was right in between and it was a little bit cheaper. So it was a nice little pocket there. And I remember the asking price was 770K at the time. I remember I was making offers on properties around 800 to 850. So I just remember looking at the photos and it had terrible photos. Like literally, it looked like someone took an iPhone, didn't even try it to like focus the photos, and literally, just took some really bad photos, didn't do the property justice. But like I said, I was just making offers sight unseen. After I made the offer, I just drove over there and then looked at it. I was like, wow, this property's brand new. Like everything was newly renovated. It was owned by the same family member, since it was brand new. I think the mother, father, moved out of that property and then they were trying to fix it up to, sell it. But I think what happened was they just got busy or something and just wanted to get rid of it. Or they're thinking about either selling it or using it as a rental. I think they just didn't want to do it as a rental because they just didn't want to deal with all that work of managing tenants. So it was brand new. Like literally the kitchen was brand new shaker cabinets, new quartz countertops, brand new LVP flooring in kind of the heavy traffic areas like the family room, the living room, the kitchen, the hallways, the bedrooms had carpet in it, but it was new carpet, fresh coat of paint. The bathrooms were brand new, renovated. Had tub, tiles throughout, brand new vanity. So it was pretty nice. Like I just said, wow. Like I literally took a photo on my own phone, and it looked better than what the realtor did on their listing. So it's crazy. Like that's why I got the offer submitted, and that's why the property was sitting on the market for a little bit longer than most. And at the time, like 30 days on market was a lot, right? Like properties were selling like hotcakes. So had the realtor, the listing realtor, been more competent, and from what I heard from my realtor, like he was really difficult to work with, very mean, and was clearly not great doing his job. But you can get away with that during that time when it was a seller's market. But in this market now, today, 2023, no realtor like that will get any business, right? So I just said, wow, like these photos didn't do justice. So that's why I said, like, if you see bad photos, like just go in and see it yourself and you'll be surprised that it looks better. And it kind of reminded me of my second house hack that I bought in, near San Francisco. Like, once again, really bad photos. And I just came in, made an offer, and then basically got asking price and they accepted it. So what I did was I um, was planning on putting 10% down. I was quoted U.S. Bank at 2.75% interest rate, which was amazing. I had to pay PMI, which was $150 a month. So I didn't mind paying that. Whatever. I'd rather pay $150 a month and save myself another $80K in down payment. And it had a huge lot, right? So the what's nice about this property, it was in a cul-de-sac, which was nice. It was backing up to a really busy street, though. That was a little bit of a downside. But it had a long driveway, right? Like you can fit like 5 cars easily in that driveway. Had a 2-car garage, and the main house was a little bit small. It was like 1,500 square feet, and the backyard could easily add a 1,000 square foot 2 bedroom, 2 bath, or 3 bedroom, 2 bath ADU, right? And that was my goal at the time. So, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to maybe live in the backyard ADU, rent out the front house, and then maybe convert the garage to a junior ADU, which is a studio. So almost create a duplex or a triplex in a way. But what ended up happening was so I was working with this ADU company, and I was having them assess the backyard. So when I would make an offer, I would literally give them the address of the property, and then they would, do Google Street View, um, or Google Earth View, and look at the lot backyard and see if there's potential to add an ADU and what size it would be. And for me, I was trying to maximize my ADU size, but obviously there's limitations. Orange County, the max was 1,000 square feet. Each county varies, right? So please check with the local county. And then he said that, well, it's probably going to take at least 6 months to build this. You know, fast forward to today, probably would have taken closer to a year, right? Given with all the supply chain issues, and there's always delays with contracting, and they always overpromise, underdeliver. So about 6 to 12 months to build it, and yeah, so that was kind of my plan. But I ended up not moving forward with the ADU, because at the time, financing was very difficult. Like, there was no financing products for ADUs. The only way you'd finance the ADU was to basically do a cash out refinance, pull out money, and then pay it, or you can get a HELOC on another single family home that I own. Basically, pay that cash, or you would pay cash, and those are my three options. So I just said, well, I'd prefer to leverage. So instead of buying that ADU, I ended up putting that, 200, 300,000 into buying a 26 unit apartment complex that I'm renovating like currently. So I just thought it was a better use of my money. Um, maybe down the road, that the property did appreciate pretty well. Like, I bought for 770K. Like, that property is probably easily $1 to $1 million right now. So it appreciated by 300 or $400,000 in the like 2 years that I've owned it, or 2.5 years that I owned it. So it's kind of, I don't want to get rid of my low interest rate, right, of 2.75%. But as the value goes up and investment HELOCs come back, I can technically get a HELOC on that property. There's a decent margin of equity in there. So let's just say it's worth, let's say 1.1 million, and let's just say my loan is around 700,000 right now. So let's just, actually, sorry, I bought for 770, put 10% down. So roughly my loan at the time was 700,000. Let's just say it's at 670,000 now, and it's worth 1.1 million. So I'm at roughly around 60% uh, loan to value, right? So I got 40% equity in there. And typically, when you do a investment HELOC, maybe you can do 80% combined loan to value. So I know I have about 20% margin there. So 20% of 1.1 million. So that's roughly going to be about $220,000, which is maybe not quite enough to build a 1,000 square foot ADU, but pretty close, right? It's probably going to cost between 250, 300K now. But yeah, that's an option, right? Like, so I just said, you know what, real estate, the long term game. I could just wait for this property to appreciate, which it did, pull a HELOC, and then use that to build the ADU. Or there's actually some ADU financing products today in 2023 that they offer now, where it's like separate, right? Because they knew that like people wanted to do ADUs, but the financing options weren't that great unless you had a HELOC or cash out refi or cash. But there's some financing products now out there where they'll build your ADU and you finance through them, right? So I was looking into those as well. So I basically have two options, right? I could pull an investment loan HELOC on it, and or I can just finance it through another company. So that's what's amazing about real estate, and the law's still active for at least another year or two, so I could do it if I wanted to. It just doesn't make sense for me right now because I'm doing all my apartment complexes, doing cash out refinance on my 20 unit, and in the process of selling my mobile park. So kind of not focused on it, but I still own this asset. Hopefully the law gets extended in California to help with the housing issue. It hasn't really been solved in even till today. So I'm hoping it's extended. But that's what's nice about the property, and that's why I bought it. It just really gives me options. Who knows? Maybe if I have to relocate back to Orange County and I'll actually build an ADU there for me to live in, right? And then maybe I'll just live in there, and all I have to do is pay that monthly HELOC payment, or I can finance it and just pay that monthly payment, and it's probably going to be very equivalent to like my current rent, right? So actually, let me just run it right now. So let me say I put 250K, amortized over 30 years. Let's make interest rate 7%, and let's calculate my monthly payment. So yeah, like, look at it. My monthly payment is going to be about $1,700, for a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, and like I said earlier, rent's right around 2,500, right? So once you include all the other utilities, insurance, all that stuff, probably about the same. But you're paying yourself, and you're building your own equity. And if there's another ADU in the neighborhood, it might actually force the appreciation of your property. But the issue I was running into at the time was there was no other properties in that neighborhood that had an ADU. So if I built it, I would have set the precedence in that neighborhood, right? So just because I built a 250K ADU in the backyard doesn't necessarily mean that's going to increase the value of that property by 250K or more. Like, unless there's precedence of like a house, let's say there's a single family home next door that was similar in size, they had an ADU in the backyard, and let's say it was worth 1.5 million. In that case, I knew that if I bought this for 7 or 800K, let's say, built a brand new ADU for 250K, which you're all in for one point, about $1.1 million, and let's say it's worth $1.5 million, and that's how you do the BRRRR, right? You do cash out refinancing, you pay off your prior loan, but there's no precedence. If I did it, I would have set the precedence. So it's a great option, right? Like one day I could move back there, live in the ADU. I can Airbnb out the front house. There's no HOA there. We're not too far off from like Disneyland, which is a desirable area. We're near a bunch of hospitals, so I can maybe do some midterm rental and increase that cash flow that way. So I thought about that. Like I can live in the ADU in the backyard, Airbnb the front house, or midterm renter that to a bunch of travel nurses, and maybe that higher cash flow will even cover my payment where I'm living there for free, and then I basically cut my living expense significantly, and I can continue to work, or build my assets, and or maybe retire, and then just have a paid off house, and it's nice to have people there so that um, there's a little bit of security and protection there as well. So, yeah, that's the story of me making about 30 offers at property sight and scene in Southern California, which is a very competitive market. To kind of summarize everything, at that time, interest rates were really low, under 3%. Because of that, people were overpaying for properties. So as a result, there was very little inventory, very high demand. People can afford a lot more houses. They were overpaying for properties. So basically, I was able to get my property at asking price, and because there's really bad photos, and because I made offers quickly, and the realtor didn't do a good job advertising it, so I was able to get a great price. Fast forward to today, like I said, I bought for 770K. It's probably worth about $1.1 million now. I got the property reassessed. The PMI was removed after 2 years. Between me paying it down and it appraised at a much higher value. So yeah, this is a great long-term property. I'm actually renting out the property now for around 3,700 a month, which is just breaking even, despite me self-managing the property. And it doesn't include any capex, so I mean maintenance. So any maintenance, that's where I'm negative. But this property is appreciating so well. Even the rents, like they're slightly below market as well at 37. I could probably raise it to 3,900, and I will do that in 2 years. But the tenants have been great. They've been amazing. They pay on time. They actually help me fix things without asking for it, or they do a really good job. Usually when I renew the lease, I'll walk the property. Like honestly, it looked just as good as it did when I last saw it. And yeah, like I said, I still own this asset, and there's still a lot of potential options that I can do for this property. So just remember, real estate's a long-term game, and if you're willing to play the game for at least 15 years and laying that foundation, and then continuing for the rest of your life, that is how you build wealth, and that is how you have the option to leave your day job. Well, hopefully you found value. Please drop a comment down below on if you would make an offer on a property sight and scene, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.